What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Thanks for clicking on another episode of Break the Silence. I am your host, Cyborg, and we just got done watching a dominating performance by the Oklahoma City Thunder. It was between the 1 and 2 seeds in the Western Conference. Now the Nuggets are 3, but the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Denver Nuggets. And tonight, the Thunder won 121 to 111. They led the game from wire to wire. It was the sixth time they've done that this season, second most in the NBA. But it was a super impressive performance, and not just because Shai Gilgeous Alexander balled out, but they got huge performances from some of their other great players, some of their role players tonight. And I think that that's what was the huge difference in this game. Obviously, the storyline is Shai Gilgeous Alexander versus Nikola Jokic. Jamal Murray and Chet Holmgren were just named to their first All-Star games. So it was a super exciting basketball game, and one that felt like it could be a Western Conference Finals preview. So when those games are on the schedule, I get excited because I want to see how these two teams match up and how they play against each other, because they went to 7 games last year in the Western Conference playoffs, and obviously the Thunder went on to win the title. But you want to see how it's gonna look this season, because there's been changes to, in particular, the Nuggets roster. They added Jonas Valanciunas, who was horrific tonight, but he's been a good add for them. They added Bruce Brown back, Tim Hardaway Jr. Obviously, they've made some, and then Peyton Watson obviously has had a great stretch here and really taken a huge step forward. And on the Thunder side, you're talking about a team with incredible chemistry that just won an NBA Finals and looks like they may be on the path to win it again. But they had lost 3 of the last 4 games. So coming into this game, you're waiting to see what they're going to do. How will you respond? Will you start to fall apart because this is the first time you've maybe faced adversity in the regular season in a little while? You've been so dominant. But no, they responded in a great way, and that's what great basketball teams do. Before we get into the game, take a second to subscribe to the channel. We are almost at 1,300 subscribers. We're grinding NBA content. We're going to do a video reacting to the All-Star announcements. Obviously, there's some guys that feel like they got snubbed, in particular Kawhi Leonard, who's having an incredible season, didn't make the All-Star game. But there's a lot of NBA content coming up. If you're a Nuggets fan, we're going to be covering Nuggets-Pistons. I believe that's Tuesday night, but obviously the Pistons are number 1 in the Eastern Conference, so that's an exciting basketball game. So take a second to subscribe for basketball content. So in this game, it felt like the Thunder were in control. They're up 6 points after the first quarter and 7 points at halftime, but the Nuggets kept making runs, and they'd get back into the basketball game, and then it felt like every single time they'd do that, there'd be a massive 3-point flurry by Cason Wallace. Isaiah Joe had a stretch where he had a couple, and who was the third player I'm thinking of? Aaron Wiggins. Felt like every time the Nuggets would make a run, here would come the Thunder, those 3 guys for the Thunder, to hit big shots and really get that lead back to where it previously was. And that just rips the heart out of an opposing team, especially when you have a player like Shai Gilgeous Alexander that's so effective at closing, so effective in the fourth quarter. I think great basketball teams are great in the third quarter. The Thunder scored 39 points. That was their most dominant quarter. But you know that Shai Gilgeous Alexander, if you can get him to clutch games down the stretch, he's going to hit a lot of big buckets. So if you're able to get 27 points like you got from Cason Wallace tonight on 7-11 from the 3-point line, and Isaiah Joe hit 3 3-pointers, Aaron Wiggins had 14 points, hit 3 3-pointers. You didn't even really need great games from Chet Holmgren. Hartenstein didn't play very much. Lou Dort was 2 of 9 from the field. But the Thunder really shot the crap out of the 3-point ball. And they're not a great 3-point shooting team. They're middle of the pack in both efficiency and, attempts per game. But tonight they hit 19 of them and went 40% from the field. The reality is, if the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to hit 19 3-pointers and shoot 40% from 3 and get contributions from some of these other guys, 27 points from Cason Wallace, they're almost never going to lose. These are the number 1 and the number 2 scoring teams in the NBA. And we know that the Oklahoma City Thunder defense is it's big time. It's throwing tons of great perimeter defenders at you, and then they have good paint big men in both Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein. And the interesting thing about this Thunder team in particular was they are 22-4 on the season without J-Dub. So tonight, that's one of the things you got to keep in mind. J-Dub was out. Alex Caruso was out, Aaron Gordon was out, and Cam Thomas were all out for both teams respectively. So the games will look a little different once we get later in the season or into the playoffs if those guys are able to come back healthy. But this Thunder team has been even better without J-Dub on the court, and I think it really allows some of these role players to shine. Some of these guys who don't get heavy volume, a guy like Cason Wallace, gets 14 shots up tonight. It's 7 3-pointers. When you take the second scoring option for the Thunder out of the game, second or third, whatever you want to call them, it really allows some of these other guys to shine, and you see the true depth of this Thunder roster. Obviously, the star and the stud of this Thunder team is Shai Gilgeous Alexander, who had 34 points on 16 shots, 11 of 13 of the free throw line. He doesn't shoot a lot of three-pointers. He was only 1 of 2. He had 13 assists, and the thing that was so impressive about that was almost all of them were for three-point shots. In the first half, all 6 of his assists went to a guy who was shooting a three-pointer. And, those have a little extra value, but it shows the gravity that Shai Gilgeous Alexander has when he's playing. When he drives the basketball, teams put so much pressure and so much help on trying to stop him in the mid-range that, man, he was just passing to guys who were wide open, and they shot the crap out of the basketball tonight. But it's because of the gravity that SGA has that makes all of his teammates so much better. And SGA is a player that's heavily criticized, but daggone it, he is highly impressive, and he's probably on his way to winning his second straight MVP. And if they win another championship, you are going to have some interesting conversations about where SGA ranks all time in terms of point guards, because not a lot of these all-time greats are going to have 2 MVPs and 2 finals wins on their roster. You start thinking about guys like Steve Nash have 2 MVPs but no finals wins. Steph Curry, 2 MVPs. He has a few more finals wins, but you're talking about that number putting him in some interesting conversations, whether that's, top 5 point guard all time. I think we'll wait and see how this season plays out, and that's something that I'll talk about probably in the offseason, where he ranks as a point guard. But he's setting himself up in some interesting conversations. His efficiency feels truly historic when you watch it. When he rises up from the mid-range, it feels like he's never going to miss. And his finishing ability obviously is fantastic, and he doesn't shoot a lot of threes. And I think that's what I really love about the modern NBA. It's so criticized, and one of the big things that was rolling around on Twitter was that the modern NBA just isn't fun, that this season hasn't been fun. But if you are a true lover of basketball and the sport and the art behind it, I think you love the modern NBA, because the way that the Nuggets play and the way that the Thunder play are so much different from the way that the Lakers play and the way that the Celtics play. So many people want to talk about the rise in the three-point shot. And obviously, it is at an all-time high when it comes to, just pure attempts from the three-point line. But the Boston Celtics win because they, play good basketball primarily because of the three-point shot. The Thunder are the best team in the NBA, and they're middle of the pack shooting the three ball. So if you love basketball, how can you not look at the different styles? The Denver Nuggets play through a 7-foot big man from Europe that can hardly jump, but he's so creative and so, controlling the entire offense. And then when you watch a team like the Lakers, Luka's handling the basketball and isoing most of the time. The Thunder are a basketball team that kind of plays from, Shai does most of his damage in the mid-range. So I just mentioned 4 different basketball teams who play with 4 different styles. Plus you have a team like the Washington Wizards that just play bad basketball. So you got to love that too. Ultimately, this was a highly impressive performance out of the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I'll be interested to see if they match up in the playoffs. This drops the Nuggets to 33-17 and the Oklahoma City Thunder to 39-11. For the Nuggets side of the basketball, rough night from Jamal Murray. And obviously, Jokic is still kind of coming back. He was still on a minutes restriction. He did play 29 minutes, so it's not like he didn't play. Jamal Murray went 4 of 16 from the field and 1 of 8 from the three-point line. Peyton Watson balled out 29 points. But I thought when Jonas Valanciunas was in the game, it felt like a disaster because he came in about midway through the first quarter, and it felt like every time the Thunder missed a shot, they got their offensive rebound. And his defense is just rough. He obviously is a good offensive player, and you might not think the guy who had 13 points on 6 of 11 shooting is the guy to criticize. But when I was watching the game, it jumped out to me how bad he was at securing rebounds. And you could tell he was getting frustrated. And then Tim Hardaway Jr. was 0 of 6 from the field. That's not going to get it done. They actually shot 46% from the three-point line. The Nuggets did. But it wasn't good enough to take down this electric Thunder team. That's all we got for you when it comes to this game. Make sure you take a second to subscribe to the channel. Appreciate y'all watching. Cyborg out.